Hi, everyone. I'm your host, Stefania from BerChain, and welcome to Berlin and Rome, a decentralized collaboration webinar. We are giving 5 minutes more for attendees to join. Thank you. So welcome everybody to Berlin and Rome, a decentralized collaboration webinar. We are very happy to have all of you joining us today. My name is Stefania and I'm BerChain Association Manager. And today is also joining me Lorenzo Migno Paolello, Innovation Specialist at Moveax. Hi, Lorenzo, welcome.
Hi, Stefania. Thank you.
And together we are going to host this online session organized by BerChain in collaboration with Moveax. And a few words about BerChain. We are a nonprofit member-led association based in Berlin, promoting and connecting the local Berlin blockchain ecosystem. And today's event, Berlin and Rome, Decentralized Collaboration, is actually a 2 hours virtual event inquiring on the state of the art of two blockchain ecosystems, the Italian ecosystem and the German ecosystem. We will try to explore differences and similarities, successful use cases, and introducing future outlooks for blockchain integration in both countries. So I lend the floor now to my co-host Lorenzo from Moveax for a little intro on their side. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stefania. So first of all, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Lorenzo, and I'm so happy to see that many people connected to this event. I work in the innovation department of Moveax, which is a Rome-based technological company specializing in blockchain technology and artificial intelligence techniques. So this initiative was conceived during the first call I had with Stefania while talking about potential synergies we could create between Rome and Berlin on the blockchain technology. We were presenting to each other our previous experiences in organizing local and international tech events, both in Italy, in Germany, and abroad. And we suddenly realized that a virtual meeting could represent the more effective way to establish a first dialogue between the two capitals in blockchain-related challenges. In fact, here in Moveax, since 2015, we value the power of building solid connection with local international partners to generate opportunities that are very useful to boost our internal projects, but also in general to leverage on synergies created between different stakeholders in Italy and abroad. Starting from this first online meeting, the idea is to build a series of events aiming at showcasing local ecosystem of decentralized economy through the involvement of city representatives, startups, international companies, and local associations. So today we have amazing panelists and speakers that will bring us to the frontiers of blockchain application at city level. I hope you will enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorenzo. So I just wanted to give also a quick intro about the schedule that we have today. So basically, we start with 2 keynotes from Italy and from Germany, and a row of successful companies presentations. And then we will have a panel discussion at 6:20, moderated by Benedetto Biondi, DeFi ambassador of Italia for Blockchain Association. Welcome, Benedetto. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
So this session will be recorded, and we also have a live Q&A session at the end of the webinar. It's going to start around 6:50. And to ask a question, please use the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. And this will allow you your question to be seen actually by the other panelists, and it will be answered towards the end of the session, as mentioned. It's my pleasure now actually to introduce today's first keynote by Riccardo Corbucci, City of Rome Innovations Committee President. And Riccardo, as well as Antonella Melito, who is the Vice President of Roma Capitale Commission, who had to take part on the panel discussion at the end of the webinar, unfortunately did not manage to join us, both of them due to unforeseen last-minute institutional commitments. So we actually have from Riccardo Corbucci a video keynote to show you. Thank you for your understanding and enjoy.
Good evening, I'm Riccardo Corbucci,
President of Roma Capital Committee for Statute and Technological Innovation. First of all, I would like to thank you for this invitation to this event, and I would like to pass on the greetings of the Mayor of Rome, Roberto Gualtieri. This discussion offers a first important opportunity to start a fruitful dialogue between our two capitals on a particularly innovative issue, such as the use of blockchain in the procedural and organizational strategies of public administration. We live in a time where data have become a fundamental resource for the functioning of the digital economy. Public and private organizations are trying to systematize as effectively as possible the enormous amount of data that is generated daily by each individual through online activities, from purchases to interaction with social networks. The shift in traditional habits and the emergence of digitalization in the lives of the citizens require a new digital citizenship pact that will make people aware of the opportunities and risks associated with the new way of life. In this context, particular importance must be given to preserving personal data that are requested or captured by the digital platforms we use every day. These online solutions extract our data for purposes ranging from personal identification to customized services, often forgetting or making it complex to offer data holders transparent information about the use of personal data. In such a scenario, the question of privacy plays an extremely important role. Respect for privacy and full control of personal information are to be considered as a new fundamental human right, as they guarantee the full integrity of each person and all data in the digital age. On the contrary, we are witnessing phenomena of voluntary servitude that pushes internet users to give up their data without taking into account the implications in terms of privacy in a system that has lately been defined as digital feudalism. Despite the firm intervention of European authorities and growing political debates at national level on the protection of personal information, even now many companies only partially respect or just try to bypass the rules. New systems for the autonomous, secure and decentralized management of digital assets can come from enabling technologies such as blockchain. Indeed, this decentralized infrastructure could play a central role in the creation of new forms of control and data management. Transparency in financial flows, reduction of transaction costs, new digital identity, efficient immediate access to services. Italy suffers a certain delay on DLT in the public administration. The 3-year plan for Italy in the public administration, prepared by the Agency for Digital Innovation for 21-23, never even mentions the term blockchain. Furthermore, 2 years after its launch, there are still non-concrete results from the blockchain task force set up by the Ministry of Economic Development to define an Italian strategy in the field of blockchain technologies and related projects. Also, in the National Recovery and Resilience Plan, the word blockchain is mentioned only once for the verification and the audit activities of e-procurement processes. Nevertheless, in March 2021, in line with the European Digital Strategy, AGIT, together with Cimea, Enea, INAIL, Infratel Italia, INPS, Politecnico Milano, Poste Italiane, SOGEI, and the University of Cagliari, promoted the Italian blockchain service infrastructure, the Italian node of the European service infrastructure. To go further with new investment on blockchain technology, The Ministry of Economic Development also allocated 45 million euros in 2021 for innovative startups in the fields of artificial intelligence and blockchain. At the municipal level, blockchain technology could be used to promote new and more efficient forms of digital identity, to facilitate the interaction between public institutions and citizens with greater speed and reliability in sharing personal data, to experiment new incentive systems for civic participation that are implemented through economics of scope and virtual tokens. To date, several states and cities around the world have begun to apply blockchain to ensure reliability and transparency in the processing of public and private data. Such a system could facilitate and make more secure and transparent all the interaction happening between citizens and institutions in virtual environments. For example, the city of Seoul has already experimented several public services on the metaverse. I would like to underline that last year the Italian government completed the first version of the National Data Strategy for Public Administration, which revealed a series of critical issues. In Italy, there is no commonly standardized data from Aosta to Palermo. It is a topic that is being addressed thanks to the new National Registry of the Resident Population, which Rome only adopted in December 2020. However, the new administration led by Roberto Gualtieri aspires to a city with faster and more efficient services, capable of decentralizing its administrative organization to simplify the lives of citizens. Blockchain can help to protect the interests of citizens, improve the functioning of the administrative machine. Imagine someone asking you today, are you online or offline? The answer is, my dear, we are in both. With these words, Luciano Floridi explained the concept of on life, a term used to describe contemporary societies in which the limit between real and digital world is thinner day by day. This phrase sounds like an alarm to political and administrative representatives who are tasked with preserving public and private data from interest appetites. New technologies offer a secure solution to make all citizens aware and autonomous in the management and control of their personal information. As we have seen, blockchain has already been successfully applied to numerous city contexts and can be an important technological solution to make the city of Rome better. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Riccardo Corbucci, to share with us this video anyway, regardless the fact that he couldn't unfortunately be here with us. Then I would like to hand the floor to Benjamin Abdullahi with the second keynote that we have on institutional side today with us. Benjamin is a legal advisor from the Berlin Senate Department for Economics, Energy, and Public Enterprises.
Thank you, Stefania. Firstly, I'd like to thank the organizers, BerChain and Moveax, for making this event possible. My name is Benjamin Abdullahi, and like Stefania said, I work basically in the Ministry of Economics in Berlin. And in the next few minutes, I will try to give you a very brief overview of the German blockchain ecosystem, with a focus, of course, on the landscape here in Berlin. And since I work for a public institution, I will also briefly try to touch on the role that public institutions, such as the federal government in Germany, as well as our local government here in Berlin, can play. So what are the characteristics of the German blockchain ecosystem. First of all, it's not that easy to gather reliable data on blockchain companies, since there's no official registry for that. But there's a lot of publicly available data, as well as a number of studies that help get a more or less accurate picture. So the findings that I'm going to present here are based on two studies that were both conducted in 2021. One of them by us here in the Senate Department, and one by BerChain, who were kind enough to provide us with the results of their study. Generally speaking, blockchain, I would say, is still in a niche, but it's steadily stepping out of that niche and into the spotlight, if you will. So in other words, it's still early days, but we can see a lot of dynamic developments that have been gathering a lot of steam in the last, I would say, last couple of years. And there are roughly 300 blockchain companies, i.e. companies that are offering services that utilize blockchain in some form. Geographically speaking, they are located mainly in Berlin, but also in Frankfurt, Munich, and to a smaller extent also in Hamburg and Cologne. But Berlin is certainly by far in the lead, with around about 130 companies engaged in the blockchain field. So yeah, that's the vast majority of the active companies. As you can see, the total number is still relatively small compared to the more traditional sectors, but like I said, it's dynamically growing, and it promises a lot of potential for a more accelerated growth in the short and also midterm, driven by the rapid technological advancements that we can see these days. When you try to analyze the companies that operate in the field of blockchain, you get a quite multifaceted landscape. Of course, unsurprisingly, most of them are startups. 60% of the companies have 10 or fewer employees. Another 30% have fewer than 50 employees. So that's already 90%. And the remaining 10% of the companies can be considered large corporations, which is not to say that there aren't also big companies that are heavily invested in blockchain. For example, the German car makers, BMW, Mercedes, Volkswagen, but also some utility providers. Speaking of the startups, they are many of them are active in the crypto and financial services field. However, we're observing certain diversification of the domains they're active in. So there's now quite a broad spectrum in which they operate, ranging from entertainment to identity management, IoT, cybersecurity, logistics, or also the energy sector, for example. The major investment sources for those blockchain startups are venture capital, of course, but also token offerings, and also governmental funding opportunities and accelerators, with an increasing number of grants by large blockchain protocols and ecosystem funding, such as individual entrepreneur donations, for example. And we can identify also that there are two main categories of blockchain projects. On the one hand, the more business industry purposed blockchains, which focus more on proof of concepts and promoting blockchain among companies and the government. And then there are the more developer focused infrastructure projects that focus more on consensus of technology. And with the deployment of more secure and scalable infrastructure, industrial and application-based projects will be able to focus more on specific use cases and user experiences. Now, if you ask me what is the main strength of the German blockchain ecosystem, what sets it apart, I would say it's the highly diverse and very active community of developers, but also organizations, associations, and all kinds of startups and companies. Now, if we switch to Berlin in particular, why come to Berlin for your blockchain startup? The reasons are obvious. I mean, first of all, there's a very large talent pool to recruit from. There are many well-trained potential employees. There's also an already existing startup ecosystem and infrastructure to take advantage of, which is one of the biggest in Europe. And Berlin in particular is, of course, also known for its very progressive attitude and a very free-thinking spirit. An added bonus are the still relatively low cost of living, at least when you compare it to other blockchain hotspots like the Silicon Valley or New York City, for example. One interesting finding that we saw was that even startups that operate in financial services seem to prefer Berlin over, for example, Frankfurt, which is well established as one of the most important financial sectors in Europe. And yeah, of course, Berlin is also known for its vivid creative scene, which is why topics such as NFTs or in general new forms of ownership just gain a lot of attention and a lot of traction in the creative space. So to sum up, it's safe to say that Berlin is on track to become one of the major European, if not global, blockchain hotspots. I want to briefly touch on the role of public institutions. Blockchain is, of course, a topic that has caught the attention of policymakers as well, up till the German federal government. In my experience, some are still in the process of identifying the right angle to from which to approach the topic. There's still a small amount of skepticism as well, but I can also see a lot of enthusiasm. In 2019, two federal ministries, the Ministry of Economics and the Ministry of Finance, released the first ever comprehensive national blockchain strategy, which underscores the commitment of the German government to becoming a leading blockchain technology location. And it includes a number of initiatives and pilot projects for specific industries. It's also in large parts dedicated to regulatory questions, so the regulation of finance, crypto assets, and securities. And just to give you an example, there's now the requirement of a license from the Federal Financial Supervisory Authority if you want to go into institutional trading of crypto assets. That's now officially possible. And yeah, as you know, since the end of last year, we have a new federal government here in Germany, the coalition of the Social Democrats with the Greens and the Liberal Party. And in the coalition agreement that was signed by the end of last year, blockchain is mentioned 3 times. First of all, a study is being commissioned to determine if blockchain technology can be deployed in the kind of digital cadastre, like a land register, which I think is a very logical use case, a very promising use case. Then there's also mentioned that it will be used, the technology is going to be used to combat tax evasion and also to identify opportunities in the fintech field, in the insurance tech field, and many more. Here in Berlin, we are very aware of the transformative potential that blockchain technology brings. And we're constantly evaluating the technology from two aspects. First of all, how can we support the ecosystem? How can, and on the other hand, how can we put the technology to use ourselves as a public entity for the public good, basically. So yeah, we want to act as enablers to foster innovation, to give financial support where possible, and to increase also visibility for startups. And on that note, we give an award every year, so-called Deep Tech Award, that showcases innovation, and it also includes a blockchain category. And for this year, it's still open for submissions, just as a side note. I want to conclude by giving you one very concrete example of a successful case where we collaborated on a project with a number of different players. And it was the project for digital report cards for school students. It started this year in sort of beta phase. And it's a very interesting project. It brings a lot of obvious benefits. Of course, a report card in a digital format is can be more secure. It can be, it will be unforgeable and very trustworthy when you use it to apply somewhere. Plus, of course, the added bonus that it saves paper. This is one of the more or projects that are the furthest in its development. Of course, there's future potential for many more use cases. Just a few examples for vehicle registration, it could be quite useful, but also for more easy and for a more seamless immigration process, for example, but also for real estate purchases, or in general, just a leaner and a more efficient way to offer public services. So yeah, there's a lot more to come. And on that note, I'd like to end. And once again, thank you, and excited for the rest of the event.
Thank you very much, Benjamin, for this keynote. As we have heard, Rome and Berlin have for sure different levels of maturity in terms of seed experimentation, but also in terms of quantity of projects, stimulating local ecosystems. Nevertheless, I believe that we perceive the same ambition to connect the public sector with innovative services and develop local ecosystems that are both able to optimize the city administration's effectiveness, but also to protect citizens in today's era of data. For this reason, we're now going to take a deeper look at the private sector, the private ecosystem of both Rome and Berlin, presenting for companies that are focusing their activities on the decentralized economy. We selected these companies to represent the variety of missions that exist in the blockchain field and the diversity of private stakeholders that compose local tech scenes. We'll start with the startup chain side, and we'll follow with the multinational company Algorand before leaving the floor to you, Birch and Affinity. Thank you. Luca, can you hear me? Oh.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we leave the floor to you to present as chain side.
Okay, yeah, I see. Hello, everybody. I'm Luca Di Lenola. I work in chain side. I'm about to share my screen just to make you see my presentation. One moment. Can you see my screen? Okay, I see. So I'm Luca Di Lenola, and I work in Chainside. Chainside is an Italian company based in Rome, and our goal is to simplify access to all the crypto world, like Bitcoin, stablecoins, all the digital assets, let's say, both for business and institutions and for private users. We have two main business lines, and we want to simplify access to crypto payments, first of all, and also to investing in cryptocurrencies and digital assets. But we also work with a lot of private companies and institutions to projects that use the blockchain. And I want you to follow me for a reasoning about the why of the blockchain and the cryptocurrencies, because related to my role, that is the analyst and product owner, I usually follow a project since the begin and since the market research till the user experience. So I want you to follow me in this path to see what about crypto road to mainstream adoption. Because as I hope everybody knows, cryptocurrency are, let's say, a young technology and started related to a need, and this need is the need of privacy and liberty, and to have a free opportunity to exchange value. And everything started with Bitcoin, of course. And first of all, there were the cryptographers and the cypherpunks. So at the beginning, everything started with a basic need, the need of privacy, to not have a problem to be, let's say, blocked by any central authority. But after the first step, we arrived to, let's say, nerds in a very friendly way, and to retail traders. So from a basic needs, we are moving our focus to different needs, and blockchain is super important about this, because there are a lot of new use cases that came out. So other than transacting, other use cases, and we experimented a lot of projects, and we arrived to the unbanked, because the financial system didn't support a lot of a big slice of population all over the world. And unbanked again found a solution for their basic need of having a transaction vehicle, or a store of value, most of all. And we arrived to startups that leveraged all the use cases possible with blockchain technology. And we arrived to enterprise, governments, hedge funds. So from a basic need, we moved our focus to different needs, the need of finding another source of reward, another affordable store of value. So this is the path through the mainstream adoption, and an important role is about stable coins, because stable coins are cryptocurrencies that aim to peg dollar, euros, and other fiat currencies. And they are super important because they make a bridge between the legacy system and the future system, let's say, that is not future anymore because it's probably the present. And stable coins had a huge and a massive adoption. And this is a mandatory stage towards mainstream adoption in every kind of technology, because you need a bridge. You need to, let's say, explain to users how to pass from a system to another. And the users, the final user, needs to have something to test and to see if it's working or not in the new way of watching the world. So stable coins are really important, but they have some problems for now. First of all, they are like temporary because they are a bridge from the legacy system and the new system, blockchain system. And they are issued by companies, private companies. So there are a lot of concerns about regulation, but they also have really important features, like they make users start to explore standards, and these standards are not like are not from the upside of the chain, but they are from users. So users find, developers, all the people that work in the sector find that this standard is the better one, and the standard became actually a standard. So a local administration, watching this, let's say, overview, local administration should accept crypto payments for sure, because it's the first step to introduce users that make contact with local administrations, and they should issue probably their own, let's say, stable coin, because they can, in this way, they can leverage the know-how of the user that usually try tools and dApps from private companies, from decentralized organization, and so on. So in this way, you can make crypto users become part of the city ecosystem, let's say. So in this moment, a big concern is inflation. And let's say that a city token, a stable coin, can help cities in this way to probably raise funds. And this is a loop, because it can create liquidity, trust. It can make the people test the technology and trust to a public authority, a local entity. And this can help local economy, of course, and increase the spending power that is about the concern of inflation, that it is regard to the fiat currencies. And this can create sub-network, and this sub-network can really help local institutions, private companies, and final users to make relationship, let's say, and to find the same level and the same language to speak. So for me, this is a really important step, and I really hope that both Berlin, Rome, and all the other cities look at these solutions. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Luca. It's a very insightful experience you're presenting us. We're now leaving the floor to Adriano, who's going to showcase kind of a different business activity and also all the projects you're running nowadays in Europe. Good afternoon, Adriano.
Good afternoon, Lorenzo, and thank you for having us here. Can you all see my slides here, my flash slides? All right. So I think it's a perfect segue from what Luca was mentioning before, meaning that blockchain is not something new or something that is going to come away, but it's actually something pretty mature. And I hope to give you a very, very quick insight on what I mean here. Specifically, I work for Algorand, and I represent Algorand here. And Algorand is a third-generation blockchain that was funded at this point 3 years ago by Silvio Micali. So we have a very European and specifically Italian DNA, because Silvio was born in Italy and then became a full professor at MIT, where, among other things, he was awarded a Turing Award for his contributions to crypto and specifically zero-knowledge proofs. At some point, Silvio decided to look at the blockchain space, and specifically, he decided to understand whether the so-called trilemma, which stated that you can't have a blockchain that is at the same time secure, scalable, and fully decentralized, was actually true, or if it was just a conjecture. And as it turns out, well, you can actually solve it, and that's what he did with Algorand. And specifically, he created a chain that leverages the prior approaches, which were quite limiting and had their own disadvantages, so learned from them, and created and resulted in a protocol that we call the pure proof of stake, which enables us to have a chain that is extremely efficient, being able to handle the roughly 1K transaction per second, and those transactions are all immediately final, meaning that on Algorand there are no forks, and so if you add a transaction to the chain, it's effectively going to stay there. How long does it take for you to do that? Well, it takes 5 seconds. That's the time that we need in order to add a new block to the end of the chain. And both these things, the efficiency in terms of TPS and the speed in terms of blocks, are going to go up and down. So they're actually going to improve, meaning that we're going to get an improvement of roughly 10K in terms of transactions per second. And we're going to decrease block time to roughly 2.5 seconds. And this is going to happen before the end of 2022. Now, in addition to that, our fees, so the commission that you have to pay in order to submit a transaction to the chain are extremely low. They are capped at 0.001 algo. That at today's price, they are less than 1/10 of a cent of euro, they essentially we don't use them as in Bitcoin or in Ethereum in order to auction the block space, but we simply use them to prevent denial of service attacks. And so you have to pay these very, very small fees in order to ensure that the chain can stay, up and anybody can democratically use it. I mentioned already that there are no forks and that those transactions provide instant finality. And we also try to be as decentralized as possible, meaning that we lower or remove barriers to entries, both in terms of the consensus protocol, meaning that as long as you have one algo that is less than €1, you're going to be able to participate to the proof of stake. And also in terms of hardware requirements. So whereas in other chains, you have to invest thousands of dollars in order to run a validator or to run a miner, on Algorand, you can run our protocol on a Raspberry Pi, which makes it extremely simple. Lastly, we are secure with respect to distributed denial of service attacks and also to network partitions. What this means in practical terms is that if because of unforeseen circumstances, the connectivity of the world gets split in half, the chain will not fork and it will continue to maintain the guarantees that it's giving you, essentially being a blockchain that you are not allowed to double spend. And this is something that not all the chains out there have taken as an approach. And imagine, also going back to stable coins or to using a blockchain for financial inclusion, imagine using a chain that is holding values for billions of dollars that splits because of network connectivity issues and does not allow you to reconcile what has happened to your securities, to your stocks, or to all the dollars that are held there. So we think that's a pretty important point. And the last thing, we are carbon negative, which means, in other words, that we try to be as efficient and environmental friendly as possible. So just to put things in perspective, Algorand consumes, the whole network, the whole Algorand main network consumes as much energy as 10 US apartments, which would probably be a little bit less in Europe, given that we are more savvy and conservative in terms of energy savings. And other blockchains compared to this, and by using this metaphor of places where people live by, they would use the equivalent of a full city. So for instance, Bitcoin would consume as much energy as a city. So that is the order of magnitude that we are talking there. We say that we're carbon negative because we are not happy just with having a small footprint, but we also offset it, meaning that we purchase carbon credit and we give back to the environment. So that is why we say we are negative. In terms of use cases, I'm going to have to be super short here, but I hear we have a Q&A, so we can go deeper on any topics where the audience would like to. We work both with traditional finance and with the decentralized finance. And in particular, we have worked in the past with organizations that are looking to streamline their adoptions or their approaches. We are working with people that want to issue securities on chain. And even at the institutional level, here in Italy, for instance, we have previously worked with CI in order to issue NFTs representing musical artists' rights directly on chain. And so this is one of the approaches where very low fees and sustainability enable you to try and take all new use cases that before were simply not possible. What else do we have here? Yes, green. Sorry for the flashy slides again, but that's what we have these days. And that's it. I just wanted to conclude with a few words about our roadmap and what we are doing. And I think this connects pretty well with this event and with the European focus we are having. And that is that Algorand historically has been Boston-centered, at least in terms of the company, not the blockchain. And we are now expanding to have a more structured approach all around the world. And specifically, we are just opening European operations, and we are going to open an office in Rome, which is going to cover the whole European space. So I guess this is a pretty good audience to announce that. And once again, thank you for having us, and thank you for organizing this event.
Thank you very much, Adriano. What amazing news. We're very happy to know that as soon as possible, you will be active here in Rome and strengthen the synergies we already established with you. I will now give the floor to Stefan to present what they are doing in Berlin and to also showcase another aspect about how blockchain can be implemented at local level, most specifically in terms of data management. You have the floor, Stefan.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Hello to everybody. Thanks for having us. Yes, I'm the CEO of UBerch. We are very much focused in using blockchain technology for data integrity, basically. And I'm going to show you, what this aims at. So for one, we want to reinvent data integrity and want to become one of the most powerful trust platforms for securing data integrity, and we are on a good track with that. So you can see that we secured already a quite impressive number of records or data pieces, if you like. So millions of health records, 600 million in-body temperature readings from women all around the world who are trying to get a baby. Millions of lab results and so on. So the idea is, to use our technology, as you can see, at massive scale to secure critical data that has been generated in some cases and has to get verified. We also received a patent, a European patent for that just a couple of weeks ago. You can imagine it means we have registered for it 3 years ago. And the technology is designed to run on very, very small edge devices. So in the lower left corner, this is a Bosch MEMS sensor with an integrated controller. This is the smallest technology that runs our client and can issue these certificates, that we use to make our assurances. The problem is big, as most of you know. The data hacking, data fraud, fraudulent data in a couple of sectors, so whether it's energy or healthcare or insurance, is already a very big trend in hacking and fraudulent activity, because often it's just much easier to hack a piece of data than to hack a factory or a whole infrastructure. Sometimes it just needs one piece of data to hack a whole operation of a production line or so. And this causes a lot of damage, as you can see, according to studies. And this is how we solve it. It's basically the idea to use blockchain and crypto technology in a very simple way, you could say, basically by using signatures, like we know them since 30 years, basically. And we mixed it a little bit up with some cool ideas from the blockchain space, so interlinking signatures, creating a chain of proof, from the source, and then link it into several public blockchains through a Merkle tree, basically. Sorry for being a little bit technical, but I guess many of you know what I'm speaking about. And the idea is to provide a mechanism to create immutability stamps for data events on the edge device, so that on the right-hand side of that slide, the blue guys can verify incoming data pieces against the source without having to control the source. So they can be very distant. The data can come through insecure networks to them, but still they can verify whether the data is actually true, coming from that source, timestamp is correct, and so on. Yeah, that's basically how it works. We call it the Docusign for data. I think you see the metaphor, so it's literally like the sensor signs off a piece of data that it has generated, and whatever actor or infrastructure that reads the data can check the signature and say, okay, that's a trustworthy piece of data, so I can execute, manage a claim if I'm in insurance, for example. Lots of companies are using this already. So one of the obviously, biggest projects that we're doing, we're providing the security infrastructure for the German vaccination passes at the moment. But we're also working with some big energy producers, for applying the same technology in smart energy and peer-to-peer energy trading. One of the biggest SIM card manufacturers implements our protocol on their SIM cards. And of course, we are also active in the NFT space, as you can imagine. Quite an obvious move, to use our platform also to provide some, identity proof mechanisms for selling art, for example. So that's as you can imagine, a newer space. We call it KYCT. .xyz, that's the newest thing you can get from UBerch, is an identity token, basically. Yeah, that's what we do, and the mission is to make data trustworthy again, you could say, so that data-driven business models can flourish and people can trust the data sources they build their business on, basically. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Stefan. This was another vision, another application of the blockchain technology to solve very concrete, very current problems. We're going to now present the last company that we have the pleasure to host today. And we're going to explore the world of personal identity and how blockchain could actually optimize the management of personal identity in today's digital era.
Thank you, Lorenzo.
You have the floor.
Thank you, Lorenzo. Thank you very much. Just give me a sec. I'll try to pull up my screen. Great presentations from everybody. I see that everybody's taking a different approach, and it's quite interesting to see this. So I'll be taking a different approach here as well, and following up on previous speakers and also what was said during our keynote presentations. So my name is Sandeep, and I'm the Partnerships and Community Manager at Affinity. Affinity is, I'm currently based, dialing in from Hyderabad, India. So taking advantage of working from home, I'm actually working from home from my home city. So I've been in Berlin for over 8 years, working in the blockchain space for 5 years, and went down the rabbit hole 5 years ago. Besides Affinity, I also work with BerChain as a Secretary General. So let me quickly get started. So I think one of the things that was mentioned during the presentations also earlier was about data privacy, data security, and how do you protect identity and data from different attacks, etc. So when I think of identity, I think of it when I think of it in a physical sense, the one thing that comes to my mind is probably my driver's license or my national ID or my passport, but generally, and this is a piece of credential that is basically saying who we are or giving us a linkage. And in the physical world, you usually do this by documents, etc. And in the digital world, with ever-changing or with ever-evolving digitalization, more and more data is going online. So if we think of individuals and organizations, we can think of these attributes and what are the different services you access. Like, for example, your name, date of birth, and country are usually used for accessing vote, casting your vote, driving, or traveling somewhere. And when it comes to financial data, it's your income, your credit worthiness, your assets, liabilities, and you use this to access services like getting a loan or getting a mortgage, etc. And with companies, this is a bit different, where you can see that it's incorporation date, it's your income, etc. And the other part here is that this is all verified data, which is where you're trusting a entity that is providing you these services. Like in terms of when me as a foreigner, for me, it's the immigration agency that's providing this information. When it comes to financial data, it's banks and credit bureaus. So there's still that reliability on trusted entity as we are moving forward. And the world is moving forward from a centralized model to a decentralized model, where in centralized model, you as a user don't have much control or ownership of your data. Your identity is fragmented. You have no clue where your data is going around. Facebook is a very good example. I think Cambridge Analytics, where people were shell-shocked to know that, okay, now everybody has your access to your data. And the key challenge with centralized models is also it's quite expensive to maintain, and it's challenging to obtain user consent. And decentralized models basically turn this around and put the user back in control, where consent is easily available. You have full control, and you can selectively share information to whichever entity you want. And this basically comes to a different situation where right now data is siloed because of federated identity, where information is across different platforms. And the future is a user-centric, it's portable, where you should be able to use your data from one entity without revealing other information, or with revealing only necessary information and access other services like getting a loan, getting insurance, or one of the key examples and one of the use cases we work on is your vaccine credentials or vaccine certificates, where when you enter a restaurant, you just need to know if the certificate is valid or not without having to know all the information about you. And this is the reason why Affinity was formed. Affinity was formed in March 2020 with headquarters in Singapore, and we have offices in Germany, India, and Ukraine. Our goal is to empower individuals and organizations with ownership of data, verifiable data, to unlock value across borders and platforms. Our goal is to reach 1 billion customers globally by 2025, and currently we are on our way to get there. So how do we do this? We are enabling ecosystems. So these are the different business units and external vendors that are using our services. So within Affinity, we have Finovate that is enabling financial innovation and inclusion. We have Travel, where we work with airlines and labs across Southeast Asia for issuing vaccine credentials that are sort of aligned with national standards and local standards, and then enable the seamless travel. Good Worker is one of our sister companies that is based out of India, and they are creating ecosystem of services around blue collar workers, gray collar workers, by first helping them find employment and then building services around them, like providing education services, providing loan services, etc. And finally, we have Trustana that's enabling cross-border trade across Southeast Asia. Right now, they're operating across 6 channels in Southeast Asia. So this is an overview of where we are. We are over 500 people across 4 different ventures. With Affinity, I think we are over 200 people right now, with our major offices in, like I said, Germany, Ukraine, India, and Singapore. Looking at the time, can you please tell me how long I have? Sorry.
1 minute.
Okay, I'll be about this one and run through. So this is one of our recent products where we have partnered with a platform called Apex, where which is a consortium that is bringing together financial institutions and fintech players. Right now, you can access Affinity's APIs through Apex and build verifiable credentials, issue verifiable credentials. And in this whole, and right now we partnered with a bunch of banks, as you can see on the right bottom. 10 banks that are going to experiment with our VTMS solution. How do we use blockchain in this whole scene is that we use it for creating DIDs, which are called decentralized identifiers. So that's the one piece of information that is anchored onto the blockchain, and rest of the information is stored in other areas. All right, and that's me. My name is Sandeep. We are always open for collaboration, and please reach out to me in case you have any questions or doubts.
Thank you so much. All of you, thank you, Sandeep, for your presentation. And thank you to all the speakers that just presented their successful companies and use cases. It's my pleasure now to introduce the panel discussion with our speakers and our moderator, Benedetto Biondi. Benedetto is currently a lecturer at ELDA, Economics and Law for Digital Assets, University of Florence, and DeFi ambassador at Italia for Blockchain Association. Benedetto is also the CEO of Fox Finance, decentralized capital market protocol for borrowing and lending built on Algorand, but moderating here on behalf of Italia for Blockchain. So I'll hand the floor to Benedetto. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stefania, and thanks to the organizer for having me here. It's a pleasure, and it's a pleasure to moderate this panel right now. So before we begin with the panelists, I would just like to give a little bit of introduction to what is Italia for Blockchain, which I am here on the behalf of it. It's an association. It's the main association in Italy for the dissemination of blockchain knowledge. We have on board both students, researchers, professionals, companies, institutions, public administration, non-profits. Is an aggregator of people that do work on blockchain or would like to learn about this, to integrate with this world. And this is our mission. We organize courses, we organize events, and so on. So if you are interested in this, even in international collaboration, please feel free to reach out to me or anyone else of the association. So after this little intro, I would like to give first the word to those who didn't speak before. I would like to introduce Aleardo Furlani from Roma Startup. So please, Alejandro, introduce yourself.
Yes, hello, good evening. Thank you, Benedetto. I am representing here Roma Startup Association in Rome. I am a founder of Innova, and I'm leading within Innova the BHub, the European Acceleration Program for blockchain startups.
So, Aleardo, thank you for the intro. What are the most recommended services by the Italian and the German startups operating in the blockchain field, in your opinion?
Yes, we have been dealing with this kind of, opportunities and problems during the launch of the acceleration program called BHub. And in fact, during this program, we had the chance to contact with and to assist 45 European startups in the blockchain field. I would say almost 50% based in Germany and in Italy. We have a very strong cooperation with Berlin. In fact, Berlin and Rome, two organizations, Berlin and Rome, were the two leading organizations in these projects. So coming to your question, I saw that the guy, our colleague from UBIFC, he talked about patenting. I think that one of the major challenges that we are going to face in the next future is how to create appropriate barriers to entry based on technology, but also based on protected technology. So the major challenge is also to find a way to protect technologies, inventions in the blockchain field, specific applications involving devices within making best use of the intellectual property procedures. It is not so complex, but most of the companies that we have assisted, they requested this kind of service, and this is a good sign. The second is the how to raise the technology readiness level. Most of the startups have the problem of having applications which are available at the technology readiness level, which is quite low, say moving from 3 to 4, 5 maximum. The major challenge is to make sure that the technology readiness level reaches a level, say, between 6 and 7. This is the key, I would say, the key moment where the company developing a solution is facing with the specific needs of the client, of the customer, of the end user. And it's within this phase that technology transfer takes place. During this phase that the companies need to be assisted in developing their own intellectual property, and they're learning from the user. It goes without saying that the third major service is, in fact, the market validation. So to see how the market uptake can take place, defining the right protocols to ensure that the market validation is carried out with appropriate partners, suppliers, clients, which may, in fact, endorse, be aligned, and be, in fact, a part of the deal in a way. It's important to have this kind of collaborative frameworks based on market validation at the very early stage of the project of the startup, so to make sure that this is endorsed. One last point has to do with the fact that a major constraint that we are facing has to do with the lack of regulations or limited regulations. And I would say that in this respect, also Italy and Germany are quite aligned, in the sense that I would say Germany is quite more advanced than Italy, but still there is lack of regulation, especially on the GDPR regarding the general data protection regulation in general, and also the compliance with the regulations regarding the smart contracts, lacking smart contracts regulations, hash codes, and digital signature regulations is a constraint that we are facing in Europe now, and especially during the phase of this initiative carried out by the European Commission, we realized that this is still a problem, perceived as a problem by many startups. I hope that this helped to reply your question.
Yes, thank you very much, Aleardo. This was very insightful. Thank you. Now we will jump to Jacob. Please, Jacob, introduce yourself. Jacob is from Berlin Partner. If you can slightly give an intro about Berlin Partner, about yourself.
Yes, hello all together. My name is Jakob Zwiers and I work for Berlin Partner. Berlin Partner is the economic development agency of the city of Berlin in Germany. And what we do is helping and supporting companies in Berlin to get their business well done in Berlin. And we have also companies to come to Berlin, and we help the companies that are already in Berlin to flourish more. And what we do is connecting and supporting where we can, sometimes financially. We try to provide floors for the companies and create network events. This is what we do actually. And I'm the innovation manager at Berlin Partner for the topics of blockchain on the one hand and IT security or cyber security, if you would like to say it, on the other hand. So hello, everyone. Happy to be here.
So, Jacob, this is very important always, because when a new technology comes, you always need to support and help, and that's what it's very needed to spread it across all the business, the various ecosystem, and thank you for doing it in your local area. So could you tell us, please, what are the current developments within blockchain community in Berlin, please?
Yes, what we have seen over the last years in Berlin, I would like to repeat what Benjamin Abdullah already said, that Berlin in Berlin there have been a really vivid and very dynamic ecosystem when it comes to blockchain. So we have seen a very I don't know, like a revolutionary ecosystem that over the last year, I would say they have consolidated, so it get more professionalized in a way that more and more companies and more official organizations think about what is the blockchain, how they can use that. So maybe the major trends at the moment in Berlin would be when you say it, that Berlin offers a new stage for new financial services and products when it comes to fintechs and especially when it comes at the interface of DeFi. So a lot of new companies are here that are trying to develop, or not only trying, they do develop actually DeFi applications. And next to the DeFi topic, there's also the big NFT trend that is fostered and highly fostered by the creative industries here in Berlin, and the creative industry in Berlin is a really important one. So this is a huge topic that's developing at the moment here in Berlin. There will, for example, be the NFT Berlin 2022 conference at the end of May. So feel welcome if you want to come to Berlin or take part digitally. You can take part at the NFT Berlin 2022 at the end of May. Just to give you an example why this is now very new and very important here in Berlin as well. And already it was mentioned the production side. So when it comes to how can Germany and especially Berlin is also a place of new, let's say, production or new ways of production when it comes to IoT and smart factories. So blockchain could be a core technology and especially a ledger that you can use to to guarantee that the whole process of the production is safe. So IoT and blockchain, this is also a mix that it's become more and more dense in Berlin. So I would say these three trends you can mention at least. So the new financial services with DeFi and NFT, the IoT thing, and this is the three very important parts that are going on in Berlin right now.
Thank you. Thank you very much. If Stefania allows me, I would like to integrate the Q&A into the panel. Like this, we make it more interactive between the audience and the panelists, because I just see that one question arrived from Bernard. I guess it's for Jacob, since it was just written. The question is, I heard that it is a problem for Berlin that talent in startups gets often stolen by bigger companies in the area. How could that be countered?
Can I say something here as an answer?
Yes, of course, everyone feel free to answer.
I must say I'm not so worried in this case, because people that have an interest in working in that space, in the blockchain, crypto, NFT, whatever space, would usually not feel very comfortable in a bigger company because those companies do not offer, interesting stuff in that space yet. Therefore, we, don't see that at the moment. So if you would do an e-commerce, business in Berlin, sure, every second developer will go to Zalando sooner or later. But a blockchain developer, they have no work for him, or her. That's why I wouldn't be so worried in that case. Of course, this might change over time, when bigger companies are adopting more and more. But at the moment, I would feel quite relaxed when it comes to that. It's rather, as you could see in the chat, that other startups, if you have a Solidity developer at the moment, tie him to the desk and close the door, but not because big corporates are trying to get him.
Thank you very much for your intervention, Stefan. I would like to add something in this field, but mine is not from Berlin itself. It's more worldwide. From a startup perspective, I passed through the startup stage as well. When you have a good idea, I wouldn't say that you might be scared to have it stolen. I just would suggest probably to talk to the right people. Usually who is a serious investor, a serious accelerator, they are not going to go against you. They want your success. So obviously, if you make it public on Twitter, then you risk that someone else steals it. But if you know with who to talk, probably it's better this way.
Benedetto, I would like to add one perspective here. I think one of the challenges, also this is my personal observation, I might get some eyebrows raised when I say this, but I think one of the challenges with the startup scene in Berlin is also that it is two tied, one from the founders itself when it comes to employee stock options, and the second part where it's about rewards and retention mechanisms that are in place. That's one challenge where there's very few startup cases where you see that employees are offered good stock option plans. And then the second part to that is also that German taxation is quite high when it comes to employee stock option when you try to convert those stocks. But again, this is a different challenge altogether. But what Stefan said, as long as you are interested to work in the Web3 space, especially, I think there's a reverse problem in place where corporates are losing people. There's more people moving from Web2 space to Web3 space than ever.
Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you. Now, guys, please feel free to interrupt because I prefer, and I think everyone prefers to have it more like a chit-chat conversation like this. It's more interactive. So Sandeep,
maybe a small comment to Sandeep. The new German government in the coalition agreement pledged to make it easier for employee stock options. It's not yet clear when and how that will be implemented, but I think that problem is known and they're trying to tackle it. Just as a heads up.
That's some good news, positive news, which, yeah.
Sandeep, while you were talking before, I saw one question coming, so I wrote it down. I guess it's to you, but the audience can correct me if it was wrong. It was coming from Sue. Is asking, is there interest in collaborating from you with the universities, especially, and there are in the call, Claudio from Sapienza University and Ingo from Berlin.
Yeah, maybe I think generally the question is probably for everybody, but I can speak from Affinity is we are actively working with one university in Singapore right now, and also a couple of universities in India where we are speaking about Web3 and the importance of data, trusted data. So we are always open for collaboration.
I think we can make this question broader to the other panelists. How do you see in your field, in your company, in your association, the collaboration with the universities? And there is interest.
Yeah, I raise a hand, so can I intervene at this stage, right, Benedetto?
Sure, of course.
Yeah, it's my experience, the deals, the startups, which are generated directly or indirectly by the universities are normally very strong because they build on hard technologies, on sometimes protected technologies, and they also build on science, which is not bad from time to time. And I believe that universities can play a very important role. This is also demonstrated what happened in the United States in the past, but they play a very important role in startups take up in future. Coming back to our blockchain startups, the ability of the startups to protect their technology, and on the other hand, to move from TRL 5, 6 to 7, 8 is something where the university can play a role by providing the appropriate support in terms of scientific knowledge and technological support, which in many cases makes a difference. And it goes without saying that you have to be able to handle the relationship with the university, but this is an old story. I would not like to say a lot about that, but I believe that the more and more the countries will learn to generate value from the taxpayers' money given to the university in research and to convert this in value for companies, this will generate a lot of value for the countries and for the startups in that country.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I see Adriano is raising the hand. I know Algorand makes a lot of efforts with universities, so please, Adriano, delight us.
I think Ariardo said it pretty well. Oh, you couldn't hear me and you can now, right? Okay, so I think you said it super well, and I think universities must play a pretty important role in ensuring that the future, you know, at a national and international level, really shines as bright as it can. Algorand did have and does have a strong academic background, and I'm happy to see Claudio from Sapienza here as well, because we happen to collaborate with them. So I think following up on the question and maybe turning it a little bit around is how can we ensure that this collaboration can improve and can work even more, right? At the moment, what we do in practice is put at the disposal of universities or independent researchers that wanna build on in the blockchain space our skills, our knowledge, and in the case of the Algorand Foundation, even some grants that can give them enough bandwidth in order to do their research. But I'm happy to hear from this audience at the panel and from the people listening whether there are other things we should be doing that we didn't consider yet.
Thank you, Adriano. I will bring my experience here as well, because as a startupper, as a leader, we have students working with us, and most of them, they came from the Algorand Foundation help. I can confirm they do this work. And simply because I lead a pure DeFi project, when this is coming to students, like for writing dissertations, for researching on it, it's simply fantastic because it's something that no one has done it before. So it's really so innovative, and it's so perfect for a student's mind that is still in the time of researching, writing, studying, and build something new. So from a startup perspective, we like to have the students on board. Of course, we can't have too much because we have to teach them from one side, but this is also true. Please, Jacob, add something on this.
Yes, I just wanted to add something on the question, what is the role of the universities? From speaking about from the Berlin perspective, I mean, me as a person, as an innovation manager for the development agency of Berlin, for me, it's very important to create or to help the creation of a consortia between universities and companies. I have already written down in the chat a project I would highly recommend on that. It's ID Union. Berlin Partners also part of this project, and this project is all about the SSI, so self-sovereign identity topic. And this is actually a really good example how the collaboration between universities and companies could work. And I just wanted to mention that this collaboration is actually important, especially when it comes also to getting blockchain into public administration fields. So because universities have another role in the system of society, and they also try to guarantee more trust when it comes also to the let's say implementation of blockchain in these highly complicated and when it also comes to critical data systems. This is also what I wanted to mention here. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Jacob. And Luca, I see hand raised.
Yeah, I want just to connect with your reasoning, because we don't have to see a university like in one way, because I experienced sometimes that some people contacted us and needed for, let's say, advices and just advices about what to study and where to find information, because we live in ages where a lot of informations are not pretty accurate. So probably having a close contact with university can help also university to give appropriate information that came directly from the private world. So the private world, the institution world, let's say the real world, when tools and platforms and networks are really tested. And so this is super important from my point of view.
Thank you very much, Luca. Thank you. That was insightful. What so many opinions behind one question. Thank you, everyone, for adding on it. So, Luca, since the last word was yours, I would like to ask you a question after your speech before. Why shouldn't we trust in big companies like Tether, and why should we do it with local institutions?
Yeah, this is a good question. You know, a good feature about blockchain is that is like internet worldwide often. So except for permissioned blockchains, for the others, there is like a lack of borders. That is a feature, but is also a problem, because big companies that are not quite regulated, that like they live in a gray area, like companies that issue private coins, like stable coins, can, let's say, live in this gray area, an unregulated area. So when you think about local authorities, you can establish a more direct contact with them. So probably final users and users can really let's say feel the trust that it depends by, in these cases, who owns, let's say, who issue the coin. So this is quite important also to give a good overview about the technology to normal users, because if a user starts to join the crypto world and have problem because of private companies, he probably will have like a bad view about all the sectors. So this is really important. It's important that the local authorities make user feel trust. So that's the answer of the question.
Thank you very much. That's very interesting. And I would like to ask you also, how can local institutions facilitate the learning usage of tools and platforms in the crypto space, in your opinion?
Yeah, as I said before, like in my presentation, the first thing is that local institutions need to understand that the target is really differentiated. So they can't like point to one kind of user. So when I was saying that the local administration needs to accept payments, crypto payments, and also try to join the world actively, like not only accepting but also issuing, it's because they need to let's say they need to embrace all the kind of users, and this is super important. And they can make users that usually join private platforms pass to public platforms or public payment systems. So this is quite important.
Thank you very much. That's true. I agree with you. And while we was presenting, I wrote down a question that arrived from Sue, and I guess is for you. What do you mean with subnetworks? If you could clarify this, it's about your presentation before.
Okay, no, the meaning of subnetworks in my presentation wasn't like technical meaning. It was like more open meaning, let's say. So subnetworks can be, of course, a technical feature like a layer 2 or something like that, but it's also like when a lot of companies, institutions, users in a local, in the territory started to use a technology, they started to find synergies about this technology. So that's why I was saying that subnetworks can be created. That's why.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Luca, also for clarifying this.
Thank you.
And the audience, please feel free to write any question you have for our panelists. Meanwhile, I would like to give the word to Benjamin. Benjamin, what would you consider the biggest roadblocks when identifying new potential project?
Yeah, that's a good question. In my experience, when dealing with public institutions, one of the issues is basically the decentral nature of blockchain itself. And what I mean by that is that it's often not a complementary technology, but it replaces existing solutions. It makes existing solutions redundant. And it basically, it cuts out the middleman in many instances. So that's why public institutions tend to be reluctant sometimes, which also is tied to sometimes a lack of a technical understanding. When you, of course, when you're the middleman, you don't want to be cut out. So I think that is one of the issues. Of course, what Mr. Furlani said before, the lack of legal and regulatory or regulation is also one of the topics, and there are still many uncertainties that need to be figured out. I think these are currently, from my experience, some of the challenges.
Interesting. Thank you. Thank you very much. So
can I add something? Can I add something, Benedetto?
Yes, sure, please.
Yeah, I completely agree with what was said before, Benjamin. It should be said that major technologies like even e-commerce were in fact boosted by the public administration adoption, early adoption. So I believe that an effort should be made to make sure that those barriers that Benjamin was mentioning, in fact, have to do with the regulatory framework and adoption constraints, which can be offset through specific validation cases, solving problems or replacing the actual ways to solve the problems through the blockchain. I think that working on that direction will pave the way to take up from the industry and from the private sector more and more. So I believe your role, the role of public administration, is really important in this space.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And there is still one question pending on the Q&A, and that I guess we can connect to this. So I'm going to ask to all of you that are in the blockchain in Germany space, what are the main public actors in this ecosystem? I cannot help on this because I don't have knowledge over it, but surely some of you can do. Someone would like to take the words for it?
Yes, just to give a humble approach to the answer. I mean, in Germany, this is still some sort of a searching process. So like the public administrations and the public organizations, they have to figure out what can we do with blockchain, how we can implement it to the already given processes. But there are some drivers, like we have in Germany these Bundesländer, like federal states, and within these federal states, NRW and Berlin, yeah, these are main drivers when it comes to bring blockchain into a doing, so to say. So I would say this is not one specific organization. This is a process where a dialogue that we have right now in Germany. So it's at the really beginning. So, but we have this. It was already posted in the chat. This Gov Digital. So there's a lot of activities going on there. You can check that, and also check the players there. So who's involved there.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Someone else would like to add on, Jacob, for answering the same question? Okay.
Yeah, I wanted just to make an addition, Benedetto, if you don't mind. Again, on the issue of public administration and the players, there is a big issue in dealing with the public administration and distributed ecosystems, because distributed ecosystems are normally handled by private players, and this generates a perception of, I would say, disempowerment of citizens and sort of emergence of a stateless society. So I believe that this could be a perceived risk that we should deal with in dealing with, the adoption of the blockchain and the distributed nature of the blockchain in public administrations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I'd also like to add a thought, if I may. So if you look at Europe and many of the member states, Italy and Germany are good examples. I think they are all organized in a very, federal. You could even say decentralized fashion. So where local, like governments, cities have, in lots of dimensions, control of how they handle, especially IT-driven problems, and how they offer digital services to their citizens and so on. So I think, that's the reason why I posted this GovDigital example, but goes beyond that, that there is an interesting link of the decentralized fashion, how Europe is run, if you like, from the policy side, how we organize our state in a sense, and what blockchain can deliver. And if we manage to interlink that, and make it something that gets close, because it shares the DNA, if you like, it can turn out very interesting, because typically IT infrastructures tend to be centralized and blah blah blah, all this. But this could be an interesting match, right? And if you just think, that in Germany, for example, we have these 16 counties, and they all have their own IT, and they have, secure data centers and all this kind of stuff. And in this cooperative, which I mentioned, they just formed the blockchain layer on top of that, and are now offering it to public services, but also to infrastructure projects and so on. I think this is a very nice example, how these things can interlink.
This is true, I agree, and this can help make more efficient so many processes a lot. And let's see what will be in the future upgrades over this, and we are all here working for it, I think. Let's go about some question for my friend Adriano. So Adriano, what do you think? How can blockchain technology help foster innovation and financial inclusion?
Hi, Benedetto, thank you for the question. I think we touched upon all these points, right? Blockchain is a technology that at its core is democratic. And because it is, at least when it works, right? And because it is, it means that it can allow financial access to people that are currently unbanked, that don't have access to financial resources, and can do that in a way that is secure. And at the same time, it's immediate, right? I mean, if we manage to solve a few roadblocks that we still have, and nobody's kidding about that. I mean, you have to manage private keys, and that is still a very hard problem. But if you can do that, then it means that you can really enable people all around the world to access truly complete and, even cheap financial instruments that they wouldn't be able to access otherwise. And this works both in the traditional financial space, but also in terms of what kind of offers we can give to citizens. So in terms of what we could do here with, in the cities of Rome and Berlin, you could think that blockchain really enables use cases where you go capillarly to each citizen, and maybe you can offer, you know, some kind of points to them in such a way that if they provide services to the city, maybe to their neighborhoods, or, you know, if they are part of a community, they get rewarded. And this turns into a circular economy, into a feedback loop where you give, but also at the same time you are given. And this is a use case in which with blockchain, you can truly scale to millions of people. The technology is there, the infrastructure is there. You don't have to host it, you don't have to own it, you just need to use it. And you know, if you combine this with all that is happening on top of it, decentralized finance, of which you, Benedetto, are you know, the ambassador here, but also access to different resources. For instance, CBDCs that we are seeing developed, or you know, even the fact that blockchain can streamline bureaucratic processes. Think of the process of getting a loan, or think of the process of getting you know, some certifications. That those are the use cases which you know, I think would truly enable more streamlined and democratic access to resources.
I totally agree with you, especially on the long one, since this is the task of Fox Finance. Just to add up on this, if we really think that around the world there are over 1.6 billion of people that are currently unbanked, and with DeFi, just a wallet connection permissionlessly, they could have access to financial services. So this is really an innovation that is just arrived, and it will it's going to be a revolution, in my opinion, not just because I'm on it, but really the potential is too high, and right now it's just the beginning. Just 3 million of users over DeFi. As the benefits that blockchain and in general all the decentralized system can give, it's just at the beginning, really.
Yeah. Benedetto, in fact, what you're saying is correct. The revolution behind the door is the fact that we should learn how to make sure that the need that technology requires to decentralize is matched with the need of the state to centralize. So if we are able to solve this equation, we will probably find the right way to proceed, and using the blockchain as a facilitator of the progress.
No, it's true. I agree. No, I totally agree. And one question that I would like to drive also to Adriano, I know the answer, I think, but in general, the technologies that enable this, that could be different blockchain, you could do the examples of Algorand itself. What are the requirements that a layer should have in order to do this?
So full disclosure here, I mean, I represent Algorand, but it doesn't necessarily have to be Algorand.
Yeah, in general, like a blockchain.
Exactly. In fact, I think that in the future there will be multiple blockchains, each serving specific purposes and, you know, with different capabilities. But regardless of, you know, the underlying technology, a blockchain that can serve this kind of purposes should be scalable. It should be able to serve and scale up to, you know, 10,000 requests per second, maybe 50,000 requests per second. Just to put things in perspective, that is the amount of transactions that MasterCard and Visa handle at all times, right? It must be cheap, because if it's, you know, if it's so costly that moving stuff around will cost you more than the stuff you're moving, nobody's gonna use it. It must be sustainable, and that's, you know, here we could really open another big chunk of discussion about sustainability and environmental friendliness. But in general, we really can't afford, with the way the world is going with respect to climate change, to be wasting energy in terms of, you know, just to secure an infrastructure. So that is one of the truly important features. And let's say, what else? It must be democratic, meaning that if you put a barrier to entry in order to access that infrastructure, then you're building something that is going to be egalitarian, right? And so, speaking of the unbanked, they're not going to be able to access it, or worse, maybe they can access it, but only through a proxy, which means they have no means of verifying what they're being told it's happening on chain. Instead, it must be truly democratic, And you must remove all barriers to enter, meaning you as anybody anywhere in the world should be able to connect to this chain, issue your transactions, and read what's happening as a result of them. I would say the last few things, and that those are with an eye to the future, this kind of blockchain should be upgradable, meaning that, as we learn as we proceed, even as human species, human beings. And what we're doing now is probably not going to be what we're going to be doing in 20 years, right? So we used to love to say that blockchains are immutable and the data on those chains are definitely immutable, but the protocol should enable upgrades, enhancements, and should be able to adapt as things go forward. And last point, as I mentioned, it is definitely not going to be only Algorand. So whatever is happening, we need to make sure that all these chains can work with each other, right? So you need to have interoperability, but it must be decentralized interoperability. Because again, if you don't do that, you're going to have single points of failures or single authorities which are going to be able to tell you this is what happened or this is what didn't happen, right? And that's not what you're looking for. You must be able to go from one chain to the other in a truly decentralized way.
Thank you, Adriano. I totally agree with you. We share the same point of view. I think Lorenzo wants to raise a question. Please, Lorenzo.
Yes, I have a very quick question, which will ask you all to put yourself in a sort of brainstorming mode. If you had to be selected on an expert table to connect Rome and Berlin with a very concrete project, what will it be and why, in a snapshot? Thank you.
Interesting. Who would like to begin?
Can you repeat, Lorenzo? Sorry, I didn't have.
If you had to be selected by the Italian and German government to be part of a roundtable building a very concrete project to build this connection between the two cities, what will it be and why? But in a snapshot, because we're getting closer and closer to the conclusion of this event. Thank you.
Stefan, go on.
Yeah, I would propose a refugee certificate for the millions of people that are on the flight now from Ukraine, from the Russian aggression, because these people require, a means of accessing services, and greatly, many businesses and governments and local authorities are offering these services, but these people often arrive with close to nothing, and especially undigital documents. So the idea would be, we had the Corona certificate, and we hope it's soon, will be forgotten. And maybe this would be something, that empowers refugees across Europe and offers them services and an identity, and these kind of things. That would be my proposal.
Thank you, Stefan. And please, Aleardo, go next.
That's okay. I think I'm aligned with Stefan regarding the the topic, of course, which is in fact something very hot now. We hope the war will finish very soon, and I would say, and I would hope that in the medium long term we may have different needs, and I believe that the topic that you raised before, Benedetto, regarding the public administration role and the role of municipalities in ensuring the decentralized use of technology, for instance, as one of us was saying before, to reduce the bureaucracy, for instance, to make the system more efficient, and sharing these between Rome and Berlin, as a matter of fact, these two big European capitals, they both require enhancement of their procedures and their processes, and finding a way to define a common project for that would be very, very interesting. And there should be funds for that, by the way.
I agree. Someone else, or I go with my mine? I think it would be very interesting that it's more like not just maybe Rome and Berlin, even European. It would be amazing one day having under collateralized loan with DeFi protocols together with the institutions, the banks regulated. That's and I really hope that this will be the future, because we are working for it also on our side. Someone else? All right, we are still 5 minutes to go. So please, to the public, if you have any question, give it us here. Otherwise, I have one more question that I was keeping it for Aleardo. You mentioned before your role as leader in the hub. So if you can slightly maybe give 1 minute of introduction more about it, but what is your view about the Italian-German blockchain ecosystem together? You are muted.
Sorry, I was muted, yeah. I believe that we made an analysis, by the way, a few months ago regarding the two ecosystems, and there are three major differences that we analyze. One is that with respect to Germany, Italian corporates are less keen in working with the blockchain technologies. And this is a fact. Well, we see that in Germany, corporates are investing a lot. The second is that is the context. It's very important that the legislative context is developing the right way. And we've seen that, I have to say, I'm very sad to say that Italy started very well, but is now lagging behind. And now the overall legislative context regarding the blockchain adoption is a higher level in Germany now than in Italy. And also in terms of availability of venture funds for blockchain, specifically dedicated to blockchain. But Germany and Italy, they share the same problems and share the same needs for the startups to be assisted, as we said before, in terms of finding the right market validation cases, involvement of public administration in these validation cases, in most of the cases, in learning how to protect intellectual property. Again, I underline this problem of intellectual property, because this is an issue, especially if the startups go abroad, because in most of the cases, the barrier are based on investment of recognition. But if you start creating a barrier also based on technology and intellectual property, this is something that could really make a difference. So we are both struggling to find the right use cases that may pave the way to fast take up of the startups. But we are in Italy, we are lagging a bit behind, especially due to the last 2-3 years of, let's say, slowdown of for government attention to this topic.
Thank you very much, Aleardo. Someone interested in adding something, or I still can ask one more question to Jacob. So Jacob, what do you think are the real strengths and advantages of the blockchain and the Berlin blockchain ecosystem?
I guess the strengths of Berlin and the advantages is the very vivid ecosystem. So you can meet a lot of people who are interested in the field from in a range of topics. So like I mentioned before, when it comes to IoT, when it comes to DeFi, so we have this new field or the new stage of new financial services. They are also connected to the NFT field. So like the creative industry has a new perspective to move on, so to say. So I would say the major argument for Berlin is the very active ecosystem in a context that Berlin is a really livable city, so to say. So we are very liberal, so you can and this is give you as a developer, as a startup, a lot of liberty for your innovation. So you also find a lot of other people here in Berlin, like developers, like you, if you're looking for marketing people. So this is a talent pool, actually, Berlin, because a lot of people are attracted to come to Germany and especially to Berlin within Europe as the capital of blockchain within Germany, actually.
Benedetto, I would like to just add a few points on what Jacob said here. I did a fair amount of research on Berlin startup ecosystem, blockchain ecosystem. So yes, I think I would like to start by saying one of the words of one of our previous mayors. Berlin is arm aber sexy. So Berlin is poor but sexy, and that brings in a lot of innovation and creative thinking into picture. And like what Jacob said, the ecosystem is not saturated in any particular stream or direction or subsector, but there's always that mix of entrepreneurship. There's a good mix of social entrepreneurs, climate entrepreneurs, tech entrepreneurs. So this just makes it quite attractive. And also, like me as a Auslander, as a foreigner in Berlin, I just fell in love with the city because it's one place where you have people from 180 countries living. You can still get along with some basic German, and then nobody is judging you for what you're doing. So everybody is doing multiple things and still making their life possible.
Wow, that sounds fantastic, like really intriguing, and probably people are going to move to Berlin after your speech. Okay, I think we are running out of time. It was a fantastic panel discussion. I loved the way we did it. I thank you all personally, all of you, for making this joyful. I don't know if Stefania or Lorenzo wants to close everything.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was great to finish off the panel on this note also. Thank you, Benedetto, for the great moderation, and thank you, Lorenzo, for co-hosting and organizing with me this event, and you on behalf of Moveax with us, BerChain. And thanks to all the speakers who participated and gave us their insights. And thank you all for attending, and all the attendees who joined. You will find the recording of this event on our YouTube page from BerChain. It was linked on the chat. And see you for the next event. Thank you so much and have a nice evening.
Thank you very much to everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.